everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So this movie should really be right up my alley. I love Terry Gilliam as a filmmaker. I have a very soft spot for British comedy and I love Monty Python. However, this movie didn't quite stick the landing. And while it is not a bad movie, it's a really good movie. It's probably one of the best movies that I cannot really recommend people to see. But why is that the case? Why didn't this movie quite work out the way it should have? Well, that's what we're gonna find out today. So let's find out what this movie is about, shall we? This is Jabberwocky. It's the Dark Ages, and Dennis, played by Michael Palin, lives in this isolated little village. And after his father has died, resulting in one of this movie's absolutely most hilarious and cruel sequences at his deathbed, he sets off to the big city in an effort to try to be a more successful merchant and copper maker, so he can earn enough money so that he can marry the woman of his dream, etc, etc. It turns out that when it comes to the big city that there is problems brewing in the kingdom, because there is a monster that is ravaging the kingdom, and the king, Bruno the Questionable, has set it upon himself to fix this problem by choosing a champion who will go and kill the monster. And we all know that this mission will fall upon Dennis himself eventually, but it takes a little while for us to get to that point. So that is essentially what this is. This is a classical fairy tale, but it is a parody of said story. Now, this is the type of movies I usually absolutely love. And I really understand what they're trying to do. I understand what the joke is supposed to be. I understand what the payoff is supposed to be, and I understand what they're trying to do. But for some reason, they cannot quite get this to work. And I don't know why. Because, Michael Palin is very funny. We'll get to him in a second. And we have a bunch of, memorable sequences, a bunch of memorable characters. And the setups for the jokes are great, but there is something that is missing. And I don't exactly know what it is. There are more crude humor in this movie than what we're used to with the Pythons. Maybe that is one of the reasons why it doesn't quite work. Maybe it is the setup, or maybe it is the timing of the whole thing. Or maybe, Terry Gilliam just needs a little bit of experience before he becomes one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. I don't know, but there are sequences in this movie that is really, really funny. The catapult sequence with the fanatics is a personal favorite, even though it takes a little while for that joke really to reach its conclusion, as is the case with most of the other things that happens in this movie. I like this movie. It's a good movie. It's entertaining. It has, entertaining setups, and it has a bunch of jokes that on paper is really funny. But in this movie, I would more say that they are just funny. One of this movie's problems, however, has to be spelled Michael Palin, and I will explain why. Out of all the Pythons, I think that he is the least funny. He is still a very funny guy, but he becomes funny when he works with somebody who is even more funny than he is, because the person he's working with is making him more entertaining and more fun. But when he's working with somebody who isn't as fun as he is, then it becomes a little bit blander, and it doesn't become as good. And in this movie, because it doesn't really have any memorable dance partners to work with, it doesn't quite become as funny as it should have been. I mean, Monty Python's signatures and DNA is all over this movie, but for some reason it doesn't feel like a Python movie. It feels like a Wish.com version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. If Monty Python and the Holy Grail never have existed, I would bet that this movie would actually be a lot better than what it is. Just because that movie exists, I will inadvertently have to compare them, and it is not even a fair fight in this case. But it is a fun movie, and I really love the ending. It's very smart, very clever, and very ironic. But there is a kind of a dodgy way of getting to that, and sometimes the sequences drag and you're just waiting for them to do the very obvious thing, and sometimes it actually works, but you know, it's a 50-50 thing. So it is a British comedy that is funny. It is a British comedy that has a lot of creativity to itself, and there are a lot of things that works in this movie, but there's also all of these sequences that just drags on. I don't know, it's a frustrating experience because I can see that this movie is almost amazing. This movie is almost fantastic, but it falls a little short every time they are almost at the peak where, you know, things are supposed to be really funny. So, Jabberwocky, by the way, based on a poem by Lewis Carroll, which is included into, you know, the Looking Glass. You might have remembered the Jabberwocky from Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp. By the way, if you have ever read the poem, it's a piece of absolute gibberish that is one of the strangest things I've ever read, but that's a story for another time. With a little bit more clever writing and maybe a little bit more sophisticated humor, who knows how good this movie could have been, but as it stands right now, it is an entertaining little footnote in the history of British humor, and it is my type of a movie. I just didn't think it reached its full potential. Jabberwocky is a good movie. Jabberwocky is an entertaining, fun, and quite rambunctious movie. I will still, despite some of the negativity I have highlighted in this movie, still say that this movie deserves 62 points. If you have never seen this movie, I cannot really recommend it. I will, however, recommend you to see the absolutely fantastic Monty Python and the Holy Grail, one of the funniest movies of all time. This one is a funny movie. And if that is enough for you, then by golly, see this movie. So what do you think about Jabberwocky? Comment below and I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.